All right, let's talk about the Singapore property market for 2026. On the surface, it looks like the same old story, right? Packed show flats, prices that just keep climbing. But if you look a little closer, you'll see the rules of the game have totally changed. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to dissect 5 major new condos to really uncover the hidden risks and, of course, the opportunities. And by the end of this, you'll know which one, if any, is the right move for you. Let's get started. And that line right there really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? On the surface, it's business as usual, but underneath, the fundamentals have shifted. We've got tighter policies, higher costs, and all this means that the margin for error for buyers like you is now razor thin. Seriously, making the wrong choice today has much, much bigger consequences than it did just a few years ago. So, how do we tackle this? Well, here's our game plan for today. First, we've got to understand the new rules of the market. Then we'll meet our contenders, starting with the more affordable options before we move into the high-stakes power plays. After that, we'll compare them based on what really matters, not the fluff. And finally, we'll help you figure out your perfect match. Let's jump right in. Okay, first things first. Before we can even look at a single floor plan, we have to get a handle on this new landscape. These are the powerful forces that are shaping every single property purchase in Singapore right now. You have to know this. So, what's changed? It really boils down to 3 big things. First, the price floor has been reset. Developers are paying insane prices for land, which means new launch prices have this built-in floor. They literally can't go below a certain point. Second, who's buying? Well, with the additional buyer stamp duty for foreigners at a whopping 60%, the market is now overwhelmingly driven by locals, and locals are much more focused on price and practicality. And third, and this one is a real game changer, we're seeing what's called cluster growth. Think of a place like Lentor, where a bunch of condos launch all at once. This creates this intense micro-market competition that you absolutely need to be aware of. All right, let's move on to our first group of contenders, all in the outside central region, or OCR. Now, these projects seem to offer a more affordable way in, but as we're about to see, they each come with their own unique opportunities and, some potential constraints. First up, we have Lentor Garden Residences. And right off the bat, you can tell this isn't just about one single condo. It's part of a massive government plan to build an entire new town right from scratch. So the investment play here, it's all about getting in on the ground floor. The whole idea is to buy now and just ride that wave of growth as the entire area develops around you over the next decade or so. But, and this is a big but, here's the trade-off. With so many new projects launching in the same tiny area, the short term is going to be tough. You've got intense competition and a flood of rental units coming online, which means you really shouldn't expect any quick profits. Lender's a play for patient buyers. It's for people betting on the 10-year story, not the 2-year flip. Now, let's look at something completely different. Our second OCR contender, Pinery Residences in Tampines. If Lentor is all about betting on future transformation, Pinery is all about present-day certainty. It's located in one of Singapore's most established regional centers. It's got a proven track record, tons of amenities, and a built-in rental market. It's basically the definition of a stable asset. So what's the play here? It's all about stability and predictability. You get a safe, reliable asset. The flip side? Well, the growth potential definitely has a ceiling. Because Tampines is already a mature, fully developed town, you're just not going to see that explosive price growth. This is a solid choice for someone who wants to protect their capital and enjoy convenience, not for someone who's chasing huge gains. Okay, our third OCR property, Narra Residences, is playing a totally different game. This is what you call a lifestyle asset. It's tucked away near nature reserves in a really low-density area. So its appeal isn't just about investment numbers. It attracts long-term owner-occupiers. Families who really prioritize green space and a quieter environment. And that really speaks to its defensive quality. You see, in a shaky market, properties like this tend to hold their value really well. The catch? The potential for massive returns is pretty limited because of competition from other nearby areas. So the bottom line is this. Narra is for someone who wants to buy a home to live in for the long haul, to preserve their wealth, not for an investor who's trying to maximize every last dollar of profit. Okay, let's shift gears and move into the core central region, or the CCR. Here, the logic completely changes. We're not just talking about housing anymore. We're talking about scarcity, we're talking about prestige, and we're talking about securing a long-term position in Singapore's absolute urban core.
First up in the CCR is River Modern. This is what you might call the textbook prime investment. I mean, it just ticks all the boxes. A fantastic River Valley location, direct MRT access, and that strong, consistent rental demand from expats. It has this rare, broad appeal to both people who actually want to live there and those who just want to invest. It's an all-rounder.
Its value proposition is crystal clear. You get steady, reliable appreciation with some of the more competitive rental yields you're going to find in the CCR. Now, the balancing act here is that steady means, well, not explosive. In this high-priced segment of the market, River Modern is all about smart risk management, which makes it a really solid, balanced choice for a prime property investor.
And now, for our final contender, which is really in a class of its own, Newport Residences. Its value proposition comes down to just one word: freehold. That means you own the property and the land it sits on forever, and that is incredibly, incredibly rare in the heart of the central business district. This is not an investment for rental income. This is about owning a piece of Singapore's future, especially with that massive Greater Southern waterfront development happening right next door. So the opportunity here is to own a truly enduring legacy asset. Its value is tied almost completely to its scarcity. The trade-off? Well, it's pretty obvious: a very high price and lower rental yields. This asset isn't designed to be an efficient investment. No, it's designed to be an enduring one for high net worth buyers who are focused on long-term wealth preservation.
So we've seen 5 very, very different properties. Now, how do we even begin to compare them? The key, and this is so important, is to look beyond those misleading metrics like price per square foot and instead focus on the factors that genuinely drive value over time.
Let's just lay it all out. As you can see from this table, each property has a really unique profile. Take Lentor, for example. It scores high on long-term growth, but it's only moderate on stability because of all that early competition. Now, Pinery and Narra are kind of the opposite. High on stability, but with more moderate growth potential since they're in mature areas. River Modern? It strikes a great balance right across the board. A true all-rounder. And then you have Newport, which is it's off the charts when it comes to scarcity and stability. The key takeaway here is that there is no single best option. It all depends on what you are looking for.
And this brings us to the most important point of this entire explainer. Way too many buyers still get trapped comparing these superficial things like price per square foot. That's a mistake. What really, really matters are the structural factors. When are you buying in the area's development cycle? What does the supply situation look like? And maybe most importantly, who is going to buy this property from you in 10 years? That is what determines success. So what's the verdict? Look, the goal here isn't to crown one project as the best. It's to help you align your personal goals with the right property profile, because having the right reason to buy is everything. So let's break it down and make it really simple. If you're a stability seeker, someone who just wants predictability, Pinery is your fit. If you're looking for long-term livability, then Narra's nature-focused living or Lentor's Newtown promise are both compelling. For balanced prime returns, River Modern is the clear all-rounder. And finally, if you're a legacy builder, well, Newport's scarcity is simply unmatched.
And I just want to leave you with this final thought. In today's market, this decision is so much deeper than just picking a unit. You are actively choosing your strategy. You're choosing your risk profile, and you're choosing your position within a much more complex and disciplined market. Choose wisely. Thanks for tuning in.